Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bradley Scanlon, and on behalf of Wilson's National Honor Society chapter, I would like to welcome you all to the 2019 induction ceremony. We ask that you remain seated during the ceremony. Following the ceremony, we invite you to join us in the lobby for desserts and conversation. Aaron will now begin with a poem, and Megan will follow by leading the National Honor Society pledge.
Hi, my name is Erin, and I chose a poem titled Shoulders by Naomi Shaib Nye. A man crosses the street in rain, stepping gently, looking 2 times north and south, because his son is asleep on his shoulder. No car must splash him, no car drive too near to his shadow. The man carries the world's most sensitive cargo, but he is not marked. Nowhere does his jacket say, fragile, handle with care. His ears fill up with breathing. He hears the hum of a boy's dream deep inside him. We are not going to be able to live in this world if we are not willing to do what he's doing with one another. The road will only be wide. The rain will never stop falling. Thank you. Now Megan will recite the pledge.
Members, please repeat after me. I promise to uphold the principles of the National Honor Society, to which I have been selected. I will be true to the principles for which it stands. I will maintain and encourage high standards of scholarship, leadership, service, and character.
Members and inductees, you may now extinguish your candles. Now, please give a warm welcome to our superintendent, Dr. Richard Fadley, who will deliver the welcome address.
Good evening, students and parents and honored guests. It's my privilege this evening to provide some opening remarks at this National Honor Society induction ceremony. And I want to start by talking about the foundations that create the excellence that we have in the Wilson School District. As I was out in the lobby, I saw some faces that I hadn't seen before. So I talked with Principal Trickett, and he shared with me that there are a number of retired teachers and administrators that are here this evening. So if you are a retired Wilson employee, teacher, administrator, no matter what it is, could you please stand? Thank you very much. Now I talk about foundations because I'm the person who was fortunate enough to inherit a school district that was built upon excellence. And excellence continues to this day as we become better as an organization. That excellence is exemplified by the programs and the work and the efforts that our employees, former administrators, have built in our school district. But tonight, we're here to recognize the National Honor Society inductees. And I will tell you that you have big shoes to fill. I had the opportunity, I was invited to accompany a group of National Honor Society students just a couple months ago down to the Opportunity House, where we talk about the character of service, which you'll hear more about from the students in a few minutes, service to the community. And I was amazed at what they did in a short period of time. We woke up, we left the school, I think about 6:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, somewhere around there. They were all on time, and they were all prepared for their tasks. And that's a testament to the type of students that are inducted into this prestigious organization. I've been told that the Wilson School District and its service to the Opportunity House has been recognized not only here, but also at the Opportunity House as the school district that provides the most service and breakfast for that organization. So I commend the students that are currently doing those tasks, but I challenge those new inductees to continue that legacy and to build upon those foundations. Now tonight, it has taken many years for our students to arrive at this pinnacle and this prestigious evening. And there's been many hours of hard work, study, parents stressing with their children about homework and tests and all of those things. But what I am most impressed with about the students that attend the Wilson School District, specifically those students this evening, is that they are well-rounded individuals. They are the next generation of leaders, and we should all be very proud of them. So join me this evening in this wonderful ceremony and sit back and relax. For the students, it is an honor well-deserved. And as I close this evening, I want to share with you Associate Principal Bender, Mr. Bender, left some bifocals up here on the podium. And I wanted to make sure that if you were the individual that lost these in the parking lot, that if you did, please see us afterwards, because we want you to be able to see what you're reading tomorrow. So thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here as the superintendent of the Wilson School District, and enjoy your evening.
We will now introduce our new National Honor Society members, who will be sponsored by our current members. Our new inductees will be presented with a rose. Please hold your applause until all new members have been inducted. Isabella Amrick is sponsoring Jacob Edelman. Caitlin Blyler is sponsoring Shreya Agrawal. Brianna Bodner is sponsoring Olivia Albee. Joanna Bogdan is sponsoring Sanam Amin. Sophia Appler is sponsoring Emma Appler. Taylor Border is sponsoring Nicole Aquino. Natalie Boyer is sponsoring Ashley Baez. Juliana Brubaker is sponsoring Paige Beidler. Catherine Burkert is sponsoring Riley Boyer and Ava Breslin. Carly Campion is sponsoring Elena Caputo. Andrea Cando is sponsoring Diana Cando. Cameron Kavanaugh is sponsoring Tatum Copenhaver and Brianna Korjuk. Lindsay Chai is sponsoring Lauren Crawford. Megan Cheng is sponsoring Sophia Curtis. Wyatt Coble is sponsoring Kiara Delgado. Connor Cook is sponsoring Donovan Curran. Sarah De Leon is sponsoring Brianna Depro and Riley Deutschman. Megan Doherty is sponsoring Alyssa Zerkovich. Ryan Dowd is sponsoring Dylan Edelman. Aaron Doyle is sponsoring Lauren Garcia Bobie.
Caleb Eberly is sponsoring Malachi Eberly. Allison Ennis is sponsoring Saray Fessenden. Margaret Foyt is sponsoring Lauren Fisher. Anthony Futrick is sponsoring Joshua Freitas. Mitchell Gallo is sponsoring Christian Gagliardi. Daniel Genova is sponsoring Nia Gallagher. Morgan Gensimer is sponsoring Sarah Gatehouse and Maya Gosh. Jillian Goodrich is sponsoring Edith Gopal. Aaron Gray is sponsoring Zoe Graff. Charles Hefner is sponsoring Parker Hahn. Casey Holscher is sponsoring Allie Hart. Kristen Jackson is sponsoring Teresa Hoffert. Allison Jones is sponsoring Emily Horace. Darcy Jones is sponsoring Nathaniel Hauk. Ashley Jopp is sponsoring Cheyenne Huey and Shauna Hunter. Emily Kuzer is sponsoring Will Jackson and Morgan Jacobs. William Levy is sponsoring Emily Jones. Amy Lista is sponsoring Madison Jubik.
Jack Melandra is sponsoring Nathan Keller. Elijah McCardle is sponsoring Eamon Kenny. Abigail Neiswender is sponsoring Mika Kazuka. John Wynn is sponsoring Grace Click. Emily Nugent is sponsoring Emily Klein. Caden Owen is sponsoring Ruth Coiro. Devanshi Patel is sponsoring Anthony Coper. Gavin Prutzer is sponsoring Devin Crick and Alex Kaczynski. Matthew Pulio is sponsoring Caitlin Locke. Chloe Lady, I'm sorry. Travis Rader is sponsoring Caitlin Locke. Rebecca Ricallo is sponsoring Ashanti Lopez. Christopher Russo is sponsoring Nicholas Mangold. Daniel Sachetta is sponsoring James Mannix. Luke Scanlon is sponsoring Nyala Matthews. Jeremy Shockey is sponsoring Ariana McFarland and Keegan McHale. Saad Siddiqui is sponsoring Riley McMullen. Benjamin Solsky is sponsoring Martin Maroth. Colin Spade is sponsoring Luke Moan. Shadank Sridhar is sponsoring Robert Matrak. Lance Starron is sponsoring Elizabeth Moy. Sarah Stengel is sponsoring Renee Nardi. Robert Stone is sponsoring Krishna Nayak. Genevieve Strobel is sponsoring Michelle No and Serena Scaff. Samuel Swope is sponsoring Damaris Nicholsea and Lauren Rapley. Kira Sawyer is sponsoring Kezia Automaton.
Andrew Thomas is sponsoring Kayla Pennington and Abby Procriva. Amanda Toney is sponsoring Lily Pruitt and Rachel Radosh. Maxwell Valeriano is sponsoring Elizabeth Reddy and Megan Ruffing. Chloe Vogel is sponsoring Alexandra Schnorr and Erin Shover. Ethan Winter is sponsoring Talia Spillerman and Nate Stricker. Grace Yancey is sponsoring Kelly Taylor and Julie Tran. Pooja Yaram is sponsoring Bryn Underwood and Reagan Underwood. Allison Yu is sponsoring Adam Venino and Emily Velez. Garrett Zeri is sponsoring Justin Watterson and Anna Wegman. Morgan Zieber is sponsoring Ashlyn Weidenhammer and Angela Words. Ethan Zintek is sponsoring Alexis Wood. And Colin Lynch is sponsoring Olivia Zia.
Let us all take a moment to congratulate our inductees. This evening, 4 candles were lit from a single candle representing wisdom. These 4 candles symbolize scholarship, leadership, service, and character. Our new inductees have earned membership by demonstrating these 4 qualities in their school and community. Now each of our National Honor Society officers will review these qualities for the inductees. I will speak of the importance of scholarship. As I was preparing the speech, my brother told me, whatever you do, don't try to be charming, funny, or intellectual. Just be yourself. Thanks, Luke. When used in the traditional setting of academic study or achievement, scholarship begins to lose its meaning. It becomes an unattainable goal we seem to fruitlessly work toward in our high school careers. We become lost in the numerical vortex of GPA, SAT scores, and class rank. As we progress to higher education, acceptance rates and merit scholarships take over. We internalize these, and we become our 4.0s or 1360s. As high-achieving students, we find it hard to distance ourselves from the grades that pervade our school experience. However, I'm sure the seniors in the room have accepted this and have moved on to some degree of indifference because we're focused on choosing the perfect roommate and finding the best dorm decorations. Our new inductees will hopefully relax when the acceptance letters come in next year. I say this not to chastise anyone for obsessing over grades, since we all do it. myself included. My point is that scholarship means more than scores. It means more than being the best and outperforming others on a numerical scale. With the recent nationwide scandal, who knows if these all-powerful scores are even accurate or not? The obsession with high scores often leads to a lack of integrity, and according to our current ideas of intelligence, these people are idolized as smarter than everyone else. In Lorraine Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun, when asked why anyone would go to school, George Murchison says, "It's simple. You read a book to learn facts, to get grades, to pass a course, to get a degree. That's all. It has nothing to do with thought." That mindset is the same as many students have today, and it shouldn't be. Scholarship is about discovering your interests and seeking information that makes your face light up. It's about not taking new knowledge and opportunities to learn for granted. The ability to learn should be treated as a luxury, since many children around the world are wishing they had access to a great education like us. My learning journey began at a young age, often at home. My dad took every opportunity to mute the TV, which often bounced between Jeopardy and 60 Minutes, to give my brothers and I a mini lesson on World War II or mechanical stress or heat transfer. He prefaced every business trip and vacation with a map overview of the destination to learn more about the area, and not a Google map, a paper map. My mom brought home a model bridge, a wrist cast, and other new gadgets that she 3D printed each day. She also shared lessons on trusses and free body diagrams that she gave her college students. Scholarship can be based on strictly academic topics or not. Any new information helps in creating more well-rounded intellectuals. I, for one, have always been interested in music. Given that I struggled and cried learning hot cross buns on piano when I was young, I clearly have no playing ability. I instead became intrigued by the music industry. I could spend hours analyzing the Billboard charts for the most popular country, rap, and pop songs in the nation. Studying the most played artists and albums on Spotify is another pastime. While this isn't textbook learning, it is teaching me about national trends and preferences and the influence music can have. This type of learning can help with other types of intelligence too. Scholarship extends beyond English, math, and science into areas such as visual, spatial, interpersonal, and even bodily and kinesthetic. While we are all scholars here, we may have expertise in these different areas and excel with different types of intelligence. This variation again makes scholarship more than grades and scores and more about each person's individual willingness to learn. We all must have a great degree of intelligence since we are here tonight. This then begs the question, what are we going to do with this intelligence? Are we going to use our educational opportunities and academic talent to help others or to better society? After witnessing the harsh effects of Alzheimer's disease through my grandmother's illness, I hope to enter the biomedical field and study the disease to help prevent others from being unable to remember their children's names. Whether it is guiding the next generation as a teacher, solving community problems as an engineer, or treating sick patients as a doctor, we can spread our knowledge in a positive and practical way. There are people all around in need, and intelligent, creative solutions are the best way to help. How are we going to use our intellect and commitment to scholarship to benefit others? Thank you. Brent will now speak of the importance of character.
Character. This is perhaps the most open to interpretation of the four pillars. The National Honor Society does give a definition for it, though, and bear with me because it's wordy. It is a concern for and personal commitment to a community, an individual's integrity, honesty, and trust, an unwavering pledge to abide by established policies and regulations, a willingness to stand and be an advocate for those who are experiencing adversity, a demonstrated commitment to fairness and social justice, and a respect for the rights, needs, reputation, and intellectual and physical property of others. Now, this is a fairly long definition for something that I think can be summed up fairly easily. Really, it's all about the golden rule. Treat others as you would like to be treated. Now, I'd like to share a story with you. I moved around a lot as a kid. My dad was in the Army for the first 11 years of my life, and by the time he retired from the Army and got a job here, I had moved 7 times. You'd hope that it would start to get easier after the first couple of moves, but it never did. It was never fun having to leave my friends and everything I knew behind, but as time went on, I started to develop a routine. I'd show up to school for the first day, get to know a few people, but not develop super close relationships with anyone. And when I showed up for my first day of school at Wilson West for 6th grade, I was fully prepared to do the same thing again. So I showed up for school, went to first period global studies, and did the same thing I'd always done. But when I went to second period, something I would never have expected happened. My second period class was science, so of course we got sent back to the lab tables. I didn't know anybody at that point, so I just sat with a random group of guys. And to my surprise, this group of guys decided to introduce themselves to me and actually seemed interested in getting to know me. And that wasn't the last time that it happened. There were a number of kids that I met in my classes that made sure that I felt welcome. I think that I can honestly say that this was the first time out of all of my moves that I could honestly say that there were multiple people who had reached out to me by the end of my first day. Now, if that isn't the perfect example of people showing good character, then I don't know what is. Those people welcomed me in a way that I had never experienced before. Of course, my mindset didn't change straight away. Those kids reaching out to me really got me started on my way to realizing that I could actually develop friendships. But by the time I finished middle school and came to high school, I still was kind of scared to develop close relationships with anyone. Thankfully, I decided to join the water polo team as a freshman. On that team, there were 4 other freshmen playing. They immediately took me under their wing, and by the end of that season, I had developed close friendships with all 4 of them. All of the people that I have mentioned showed great character when they decided to befriend me and help me adjust. All of them are now members of the National Honor Society, and they are great examples of the kind of people that are in the NHS. The young adults who are here in the first few rows are the kind of people who would lead the school in earning over $93,000 to help fight pediatric cancer, who would do over 4,800 hours of service in the community, and the kind of people who would extend a welcoming hand to a kid who had never really had a good friend before and make him feel like he has people who are willing to help him out and make him feel more welcome than he ever had before. Thank you. Megan will now speak of the importance of leadership.
My name is Megan O'Keefe, and as Brent said, I'm going to speak about the importance of leadership as a National Honor Society member. But I'm not going to stand up here and ramble on and on about all of my personal high school successes because, to be honest, who just wants to sit here and listen to some random kid brag about their own life? Instead, I want to address how we, as Wilson High School students and National Honor Society members, all take on leadership positions in our daily lives and how it shapes who we are. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about myself, but I just wanted to put it out there that I was elected to be this year's choir president, which I swear is an important detail to the point I want to make. As most of you know, and if you don't, you will soon figure out that working with kids is hard. Freshmen and sophomores are still transitioning out of that angsty phase where they just don't really want to listen, while juniors and seniors are preparing to leave high school and move on with their futures, so they don't care either. So in a position where we're expected to lead or speak in front of our peers, it can be extremely stressful. We have to learn to balance fun and discipline in order to earn the respect of our peers instead of commanding it. For example, say if you're a club officer and you have to start a meeting, when out of nowhere, a student comes running in late. What do? Do you just laugh it off and tell them to try and be on time? Or do you make them run 5 laps and tell them to drop the club? Depending on how you answer that question, maybe you should reconsider that, but all kidding aside, learning how to be understanding and empathetic is an important part of being a leader, because being a leader isn't just about getting elected to an office and running an organization, it's about your attitude. Being a true leader is standing up not only for yourself, but for others, even sometimes when you don't agree. If you have friends over at your house and they all agree that they want pizza for dinner, but deep down you know you want Chinese food, a true leader would march up to their parents and politely ask for them to order a pizza, please. We're able to see past our own desires and instead do what is best for the group because we have the power to speak on behalf of those who don't have a voice, or for those who just haven't learned how to use it yet. But to be able to have your own thoughts and opinions and speak out on them takes a great amount of bravery, especially at our age. And I don't mean bravery as in the kind of bravery it takes to run down the steps at 3 a.m. to grab a snack hoping you don't wake up your parents. I mean the kind of bravery it takes to stand up in front of a room full of administrators and school board members and make your voice, along with the voices of your classmates, heard. Bravery is a trait that is cultivated over time as we learn from the leaders we admire who have been able to make an impact on our lives. Everybody has the potential to be a leader, but it takes a special kind of person to take that first step towards becoming a leader, and you all have taken that step. But after you've taken that step, now what? You've made the discovery that you have the ability to step up and become a leader. Now you just figure out where your passions lie. Set goals for yourself and picture where you want to see yourself making a difference. Do you want to run for student government president? Then go for it. Do you want to be a speaker at a women's rights protest? Then what's stopping you? Nothing, and that's why you're all here. You didn't let anything stop you from taking on a role of leadership, and today we are recognizing you for your bravery in doing so. Everyone here should be proud of the influence you have had on this community as a leader. Whether at our school, on your team, at your church, or in your home, you have made a difference. My hope is that as you transition out of high school into whatever career path you choose to follow, you all continue to embrace roles of leadership and lead the future generations to come, because as cheesy as it sounds, we are the future leaders of America. Who knows, maybe I could become president someday. If only I enjoyed politics, but still, even if none of us become president, you can still be a leader. So lead on, Wilson National Honor Society members, and show the world what a true leader looks like. Oh, and remember how I said that being choir president was an important detail to my story? It wasn't, I just wanted to say it in front of a big crowd. Thank you. Aaron will now speak about the importance of service.
Thank you, Megan. Hopping into a freezing car at 6:15 on a Saturday morning is nobody's favorite pastime. But for some reason, much like many of the young students here in this audience, I signed up to volunteer at the Opportunity House and commit my time to this same act on multiple occasions throughout this past winter. I would let out visible breaths through the duration of my drive to the high school, which on no occasion had my car warmed up by the time I arrived. My hands would practically lose circulation from hauling grocery bags up and down the hallways, which never failed to remind me of Stranger Things when they're dark at night in the morning, which is a great show, highly recommend it. But as much as I can stand up here and complain to you about these early mornings going to the Opportunity House, the box cuts I'd get at the food bank, and my tired feet from hiking all across Sinking Spring in the Halloween parade, it's easy for me to say it was all worth it. All of these temporary ailments, which I will not deny certainly occupied my mind at the moment, rolled away like waves whenever we'd see the finished product. It kind of takes your breath away, doesn't it? Seeing everything that you've worked so hard for finally falling into place. Not even the most magnificent sunset can have the same intoxicating effect as seeing a room full of smiles or hearing the genuine gratitude in someone's voice. And not to sound like too much of a health teacher, but service really is a natural high. It has a moral and paradoxical effect on us because when we're able to give so much of our time and attention through the smallest acts of kindness, we are seemingly filled with an overwhelming sense of appreciation and even accomplishment. Service brings joy to all parties involved because it satisfies one of our most fundamental needs, human interaction. It brings together unlikely friends and exposes you to people with entirely different perspectives on life. I don't think I'll ever forget some of the people we met at the Opportunity House, whose attitudes exuded a radiance that enlivened all of us, even through the earliest of mornings. In midwinter last year, one young man with faded red hair came up to get food and started a conversation. In my mind, he was sort of a zodiac connoisseur. He went around the kitchen and asked each of us about our star signs, and then eccentrically stated what that meant for all of us. He saw the humanity inside each and every one of us, and this exchange enabled us to reflect on why we were truly there, to serve people who really are no different than us. Service is never about helping the easily categorized less fortunate. We can all be less fortunate at any given point in our lives, and obscuring this and categorizing others obscures the true meaning of service, simply caring for the well-being of someone else. It's safe to say that there are students who will hear the word service and immediately disregard it as another task they have to complete, or as an elaborately coordinated event where they have to spend their weekend free time. But service can be so much simpler than that. It can be returning a dropped item to a fellow student, telling your teacher to have a nice day on your way out of the classroom, or even saying thank you to the drive-thru worker at your favorite fast food restaurant. Service is shouldering the weight of anyone's grievances. Can't we all remember a day where everything kept piling up, one thing on top of the next, until it was all so overwhelming and one little thing just made it come crumbling down? Well, one act of innocent kindness can have such an extraordinary impact on a day like that. Just this past weekend, when I was stressing about this speech, amongst the other schoolwork I'm sure we're all plagued with at the moment, my brother sat down with me and just listened. He listened to my tired complaints about a bad day. He listened to my ramblings about hopes for my next year. And yes, he even listened to me preparing this speech. So Daniel, I thank you for teaching me a thing or two about what it truly means to serve with the goodness in one's heart. All of us in this auditorium, students and parents alike, look to the people you're sitting next to. Now, it doesn't matter whether you know them, are barely acquainted, or if they're your arch nemesis, because we're all here on this earth together, and all of us share this innately moral duty that comes with being human. We cannot let one more day go by before we start improving this world we live in. At this very moment, as I stand here on the stage, you can start to serve your peers, your community, your nation, and our world. So next time you see someone in need of help, whether it be the sort of help that no one person alone can provide, or someone who looks as though they can just use a sincere, "Hey, are you okay?" Never be afraid to stand up and serve. Thank you. All of us here tonight are proud to be a part of Wilson's long tradition of excellence in scholarship, leadership, service, and character. This year, we are inducting 3 former Wilson graduates who have exemplified in both their careers and personal lives the 4 tenets of the National Honor Society. This year's inductees are Robert J. Cadmus, Dr. Carol Hoffman, and Paul L. Morella. Introducing our inductee, Robert J. Cadmus, is Bradley Scanlon.
Robert J. Cadmus, Wilson class of 1979, is a supervisor for athletic trainers for Novant Health Sports Medicine in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He completed his bachelor's at Temple University and master's at the University of Arizona. Prior to his current position, he worked 33 years as an athletic trainer at the collegiate level. Cadmus interned with the Philadelphia Eagles, the USOC Training Center, and served on the medical staff for the 1990 Olympic Sports Festival in Minnesota. Cadmus served on numerous committees and 2 task forces for the National Athletic Trainers Association and the NCAA for the advancement of the athletic training profession. Cadmus served as the vice chair to the North Carolina Licensure Board for Athletic Trainers. He currently chairs the Mid-Atlantic Athletic Trainers Association Honors and Awards Committee and is on the Board of Certification Exam Development Committee. Bob has authored 4 book chapters and 15 publications in various sports medicine journals. Cadmus received the NATA College and University Athletic Trainer of the Year Award for NCAA Division II and the NATA Most Distinguished Athletic Trainer Award. He is a recipient of the BOC's Dan Libera Service Award and was named the North Carolina College and University Athletic Trainer of the Year in 2003 and 2008. In 2013, Cadmus was inducted into the North Carolina Athletic Trainers Association Hall of Fame and into the Mid-Atlantic Athletic Trainers Association Hall of Fame in 2015. Please welcome Mr. Cadmus to the stage.
I'm going to address you guys on this side of the room. That's why we're here about. But first I want to say thank you to the Alumni Committee for providing this honor to me. I truly appreciate it. And I want to recognize my fellow recipients as you are truly outstanding Wilson alum. And congratulations to you, the 2019 Honor Society inductees. The last time I stood on this stage was 1979 in the spring variety show that had a movie theme. For those of you who were around here back in the late 70s, remember those shows that John Goss had us all do? Well, I danced in the Rocky Horror Picture Show skit doing the time warp. I could not dance in 1979. I cannot dance in 2019. But I still know most of the moves. Let's do the time. I can do all that stuff. Anyway, when you go to college, I want you on a Halloween night to go watch that movie. If you've never seen it, it's a cult classic. You will be entertained. Or if you want to, you can watch it on Amazon and Netflix now. But anyway, we are asked to impart some words of wisdom to you as you are Wilson's finest. And you have to carry on that tradition of being Wilson's finest. All right? That's a big challenge for you. So here are what I would say are my words of guidance. First thing is this guy. Be careful of what you do with your cell phone, your social media and such, because it can come back to bite you. Many of our leaders, entertainers, sports stars have all been affected by it, positively or negatively, because somebody somewhere was recording, videoing, whatever. And we all know those pictures on the internet don't ever go away. But in reality, as a person who employs individuals, I look at that to see what kind of character you are. So I use that technology wisely. I want to know about you. If I'm going to hire you, how do I assess your character when I don't know? I mean, a resume is one thing, it's black and white paper. Your social media tells me a whole lot more about you. My wife and I have one son. He's a sophomore at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Go Heels in the tournament. My words of advice to him were very simple in this when we dropped him off. I said, Will, whatever you do, whatever you say, however you act, make sure you can do this again in front of your mother and your grandmother. That's your behavior bar for how you're supposed to act appropriately. And that way the ghost of cell phone past will never come back to haunt you. My second piece of advice. Somebody helped get you here today. Somebody wrote a letter of recommendation. Somebody recommended you. Somebody advised you, whatever. Thank them. Thank them personally and in writing. It shows sincerity. Now pay it forwards. Be that good role model. Be that mentor. Be that kind of person, because, you know, those people you're going to mentor or help or guide in the future may become your future employees. You want to surround yourself with gifted and talented people, because when they look good, you look good. And when you look good, that's a reflection of you, and your employees will emulate you. Third thing, make and prepare your luck. Listen to that again. Make and prepare your luck. My father here, I wanted to play baseball. I played up through junior high. I could throw, I could field, I could run. I could not hit a curveball. So my sports career was pretty much done at age 14, 15. Right? But I like the idea of sports. I've always been involved around sports. And I like the idea of medicine. So one day, sports, medicine, bingo. My father had a friend who had the connection with the Philadelphia Phillies. So I'm a 15-year-old kid, 14, 15-year-old, person. We're at a baseball game, a doubleheader. Next thing you know, I'm being led downstairs between the two games inside the Phillies locker room. I'm going, I got your baseball card, there's Mike Schmidt. I got your baseball card, there's Steve Carlton. I sat there, I met the head athletic trainer for the Phillies. And we talked for about 10, 15 minutes between the games. And he gave me some words of advice and some information. Get involved, talk to your high school athletic trainer, those kind of things. So I go back and I talked to John Gursky, who was the head football coach. I said, Mr. Gursky, I really want to be involved in sports and medicine. What can I help you guys? He said, absolutely. I want you to meet Ron Fake, who was our athletic trainer at the time, who came from Wyomissing High School. We didn't have a full-time athletic trainer. You guys are very fortunate here now. I want you to meet Ron Fake. I met Ron Fake. He said, Bob, I'd love to have you be my little assistant, athletic training student. That snowballed. Temple University sent a letter to Wilson High School looking at the first ever student athletic training workshop in Philadelphia. Temple was a leader in sports medicine back in the day. John Gersh goes, Bob, you should go to this. I said, yeah, let me think about it. I talked to my parents. They said, yeah, you need to go, Bob. I'm going. I go down there. I meet the head athletic trainer. I talk to him for a while. I meet the head of sports medicine, Ted Quedenfeld. 2 years later, I graduate. I have a full scholarship at Temple University for sports medicine. You have to make and prepare your luck. Because all of us can walk down to the corner store right now, pull down our favorite 5 numbers, and play a Powerball and hope to win. No luck. I mean, it's all luck, right? There's no skill, no college degree, pure luck. So I say this, build your resume. While you're in school, summer vacations, when you're in college, do internships, get involved in your profession. Because employers want to know, what do you bring to the table? You just can't say, oh, I'm hardworking, I'm dedicated. You have to, when you show it and you prove it, it means more. So getting involved in your profession, doing internships, being on committees, being on task forces, you make valuable connections, you make friendships. You become a player in the game and maybe a game changer. Right? Along the way, you show your worth to that employer or your future employers. It shows what you bring to the table. Because hoping to succeed is not a good strategy. Working to succeed is a good strategy. A great quarterback once said that spectacular achievements are always preceded by unspectacular preparation. What a great quote. My favorite quote, and I'm a big Bruce Springsteen fan. He was on my stereo. We had stereos back in the day. We would actually put a needle on the record, spin it around. All right? Bruce talks about his dad saying, Bruce, turn down the goddamn guitar. He was playing guitar, right, as a kid. Well, my parents would say, Bob, turn down the damn stereo, But I'm a big Bruce Springsteen fan. And he's got a great quote. It says, it's not the time in your life, it's the life in your time. Make the most of yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kasmus. Our next inductee is Dr. Carol Hoffman. When she was 9 years old, Carol wanted to replace Robin Roberts as the Phillies' top pitcher. Since that was not to be, she chose to be a mother and a teacher. She became both, although not in the usual order. She entered college at age 26. For 3 years, she attended Saturday courses. Then, for 3 more years, she attended Tuesday and Thursday classes. In her 7th year at Kutztown, she took student teaching, her only full-time course. It took 7 years to complete a 4-year program. Her husband pitched in, and the family thrived. Carol was 33 years old and a kindergarten teacher. She earned her master's at age 37 and her doctorate from Temple University at age 52. By that time, she was director of elementary education for the Wilson School District, grades K to 6. She also developed a full-day child care program on site for young children, as well as before and after school for students up to 5th grade. Wilson was her second love, family always first, yet what a wonderful experience to return to her alma mater. As kids say, how cool is that? Carol was a consultant to public school districts in 7 states. She taught evening courses in classroom management in Berks, Lebanon, and Lancaster counties. Near her retirement, she and a group of Wilson parents and teachers developed a character development project. Carol is the author of 7 nonfiction books, the last 2 published after she retired. Carol's family remains her pride and joy. 2 great-grandchildren and another on the way are the icing on the cake. She has had and created all this wonderfulness, including a 60-year marriage to Bruce. Please welcome Dr. Hoffman to the stage.
As Arnold Schwarzenegger says, I'm back. After 18 years of retirement, they finally invite me back. Thanks to everybody who made this a real special time for me. Bob kind of stole some of my act about baseball, but if you don't mind, I'll just repeat it. But he did a great job. He's a tough act to follow. Students, honor students, you are going places in life you have no idea how many detours await you. Never ever let detours stop you. In fact, Bob mentioned something about you make your own luck. Well, with detours, and they're inevitable, don't let them stop you from reaching your goals, if your goals are really important and good. And never give up, never, ever give up. Like everybody else, I had my share of detours, and I didn't know that you would be hearing about what I was writing. They didn't know that they were writing what I was writing. But when I was 9 years old, it's true, I told my mom I wanted to be the ace pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies, the first female in the National League. And my mom, the best person in the world, never laughed at me. She said, maybe you better think about something else. And right away I said, okay, I want to be a mother and a teacher. Well, fast forward. I graduated from Wilson High School in the Middle Ages. I am so old you wouldn't believe it. 1957. Where have they been? They have not invited me back since 1957. Anyway, I worked for Bell Telephone. No money to go to college, so I had taken the commercial business course. Never had higher mathematics. I wouldn't have been a candidate anyway, I guess, for college. It was better that I entered at 26 because, they liked the maturity of, And by the way, I don't have this written, but at Kutztown University, when I was attending Saturday classes for 3-4 years, in the morning, and I'd get home, and then I could give my husband, Daddy, a break from our darling children. But anyway, it's just been so many detours, I guess I could say. But fast forward, I said I was not able to take college prep because I knew there was not money in the family. So I worked for Bell Telephone after I graduated at 90 cents an hour. How would you like that kind of income? A year later, I married Bruce, my husband of 60 years. 13 months later, we had our beautiful daughter, Jill, and 2.5 years later, we had twin sons, Ted and Todd, and they are here, and they are beautiful too. So my motherhood goal was achieved very early, but my becoming a teacher took a long time. It was hard. My first spine fusion surgery recovery had taken a year when I was 24. So I had to put off my college time when I was 26. I think you were told that. Saturday mornings only. I wish you had known my mother. You must think, why is she talking about her mother who you don't know, you didn't know. But I loved Wilson. I love this district like you wouldn't believe. And my mother loved Wilson too. My mom was highly intelligent, incredibly loving. Her childhood, however, of physical and psychological abuse were daily occurrences, every day, every day. Of her 3 siblings, she was the only one who turned out happy and emotionally healthy. She had been forced to quit school in 8th grade so that she could work full-time on the farm, and it was isolated and no one knew about the abuse. The abuse ended when she ran away at age 15, and she walked 10 miles during the night to board a train to safety anywhere. You might wonder why I'm bringing my mother into the story, and you'll soon see why. My mom was an amazing survivor, lots of detours. But yet as an adult, as my mom, she never talked about regrets, except for the fact that she did not receive a high school diploma. That's her only regret in life. Let's fast forward again. When I arrived at Wilson as an employee, I discovered that Wilson was going to sponsor a state-operated program for adults who never finished high school. And when I heard about that, I thought, how cool is that? You know, we're talking about helping young people who somehow dropped out and now want that diploma. So I thought, would they accept my mom? And well, we found out they would accept her. There were 16 in her class. This was night school, and the classes were held at the Cornwall Terrace School. 2 and 3 nights a week, and she would walk. She lived nearby, she would walk. A class of 16, 15 were in their 20s. My mom was 68. 68. Well, she was like a grandma to them. They loved her. you know. She was helpful in emotional ways. Well, she was 68. She graduated with a diploma from Wilson at age 70. Did you ever hear of that before? I'll bet you didn't know that, Dr. Did you? And where Amy is sitting, that's where my mom sat to receive her diploma. And right out there was her family, and I was there, obviously. We were there. At 70, I think she has to be the oldest graduate from Wilson, wouldn't you say? Well, she had no more regrets, did she? She really had a detour, didn't she? But she never gave up, ever. So there are just so many reasons why I love Wilson, why I cherish Wilson. For my mom's sake first. I cherish Wilson for the wonderful people that I met, I worked with, the thousands of kids I cared about, and the friendships that grew and continue. And I got such what a feeling to see all my old friends. I had no idea they were coming. And a lot of the teachers that I hired are retired, and they're here. Is that cool or what? Brent talked about character. I was always doing projects, and we really were. We cooked on all burners. But one of the final projects we developed was character traits. Right? Character traits. Kindergarten through 12th grade. And there were high school teachers and elementary teachers and parents in the community all got together, and we worked for about 3 months developing which character traits must we all have or show or help develop. And it would be caring, courage, honesty, perseverance, respect, responsibility, and resourcefulness. And it was great. And I'm so happy to hear that term character tonight. I've led a happy life at home as well as at school. I just love Wilson. I just love these people out here. As director of elementary education, well, I'm not really a good office person. I have to move, just keep moving. And when I started as director of elementary education, there were 7 elementary schools, and by darn, I got into those schools. And I got into the classrooms, and I got into to work with kids, to see kids, to talk with them. The one thing that would break my heart often was if I sat down next to a student that I knew needed somebody to care a little bit more, and sit down and while he was doing his mathematics, and I'd say, "Tell me how you got that answer." He would erase it. Why? He had no confidence in himself. No belief. You ask him, "Show me how you did it then." And that kind of thing. We just cooked on all burners with kids. Our elementary principals, our supervisors, they're here. And teachers were the best in Berks, maybe the world, We gelled, we clicked, we supported one another. We worked hard and we created curriculum that was developmentally appropriate. These darn tests, standardized tests, drive me crazy. We did our own. Anyway, Anyway, is that a no-no? I went to Harrisburg. I mean, way back even then, it was getting ridiculous. And we knew, our kids did great at the Pennsylvania level, and we did our own. But I realized, you know, I think administrators would like to keep their jobs, and you know, and you have to do certain things. You can fight, but you've got to get together. You need a lot of people, good people to go, not just one or two. My husband of 60 years has serious health issues and is not giving up. You are not giving up. He's experiencing detours of a different kind. Our whole family loves and cares about him. You know, though, love and caring are not the same things. No way. They're near, they're cousins, but they're not. So no matter what your IQ is or your talents, if you don't have love and caring in your lives, you know, it won't go so well for you. Love is feeling. Caring is doing. Do you see the difference? Feeling, doing. I couldn't say to you, I love you, but it's not true. I care about you, though. I don't know you. How can I love you? Every human being needs love and caring from birth to death. I wish you a future of heart and hands. Remember when I was 9 and my dream was to pitch for the Phillies? Like my brother, who was 8 years older, I became a pitcher. I was a girls softball pitcher in my junior year, but I couldn't play in my senior year because I had to work half days. I ran for the bus. You know, you went to school in the morning and you ran for the bus, went into Reading, worked. There I was getting 85 cents an hour. But once I graduated, I was getting 90. When I was 14, I was the pitcher for the Sinking Spring. Raise your hand if you're from Sinky. Oh, good, good. That was where I grew up. We won Berks County Championship. We never lost a game that year. And my sister-in-law was 11 years old, and I was 14, the pitcher, second base. She's, oh, you still look 11, Cindy. I love you. Anyway, here, student participation is needed now, okay? Answer this question and you get an A. When I was 9, which major league team did I want to pitch for? You all get A's. And guess where we played our championship game and won? Guess where? Phillies, the Phillies Stadium. But it was the Reading Phillies Stadium. But that's close enough to Philadelphia to make us happy. So dream your dreams and develop goals, adjust them when necessary, but navigate your detours. They're gonna make you stronger. Can't do everything all at once. Before you go home tonight, thank your mom and dad, your parents, your grandparents, for their love and caring for you. And like my mom and my husband and the rest of my family, never, ever give up. Never give up. God bless.
Thank you, Dr. Hoffman, for your dedication and service to Wilson High School. Our final inductee is Paul L. Morella. Paul Morella graduated from Wilson in 1984, growing up in nearby Whitfield. In 1988, he graduated from Albright College with a dual major in mathematics and finance. He then earned a Juris Doctorate degree from Dickinson School of Law in 1991. After passing the Pennsylvania bar, he practiced law with the firm Fry & Golden. Paul then decided to follow a childhood dream to work on Wall Street, where he spent the next 5 years working as an equity trader. In 1998, Paul returned home to begin the process of reinventing the family business. Paul is currently the managing partner at Morella Financial Group, LLC in Wyomissing, PA. He's married to wife Tracy and has 2 children who graduated from Wilson, Mackenzie and Matthew, residing in Spring Township. Paul authored the book, What Now? The Widow's Guide to Financial Independence, and is in the process of writing his second book titled, Mind Your Own Business, The Small Business Owner's Guide to Multi-Generational Wealth. Paul is an avid golfer and sports fan and spends much of his time with his Wilson buddies whom he met in youth sports. We welcome Paul Morella.
That's a really tough act to follow. But I think it brings up a couple of really interesting points. And I had some kind of remarks prepared. I was told I only had 2 or 3 minutes, and those that may have come across me in life know that I don't really do anything speaking-wise in 2 to 3 minutes. But I'll try to make it quick, because I'm pretty sure there's some games on that anybody might know about. It's a rainy night, and the last thing anybody wants to do is listen to Morella talk about anything. So the first thing I'd like, when Mr. Trick had called me a couple weeks ago, my first thought was, do you have the right guy? I'm not even the most distinguished guy in the house, let alone at Wilson School. And the funny thing is, at Wilson School District, there are countless alumni out in the real world just dominating. And what you young kids don't know yet, that some of us, especially the Wilson grads, know, is that there's this thing called the Wilson Way. And I've talked about it. I don't know if anybody's ever heard anybody badmouth Wilson, whether it be in sports or academics or music. But people love to hate us. And, I coached a lot of youth sports growing up. I played basketball here at Wilson, and, my family does sports. That's pretty much it. But as I've traveled the county and I've traveled around, I see these people envy us, but they don't know why they don't like us. And when I sat back and thought about it, I think about all these people I see in the real world, I think it's a testament to some of the people that you just saw on the stage. I don't think you folks are as appreciative as you should be of your accomplishments, and you've got a great world in front of you. Now, what you really don't know is this thing about the Wilson Way. And what I say about the Wilson Way when people ask me about it is I say, I don't really know what it is, I just know it when I see it. And where it came from, the only thing I can describe is that it came from people like not just Mrs. Hoffman, but Mrs. Hoffman's mother. And when I came here, there was no failure. It wasn't an option. And our teachers instilled in us this work ethic. Our parents instilled in us in this work ethic. Our coaches instilled in us this work ethic. And it was always kind of walk quietly and carry a big stick. And we had this quiet confidence about us. And what that leads you to is when you get out in the real world, we all hear about hard work. And you probably don't appreciate how hard you really are working. I got done with an early morning workout. I don't know if Doc Sutton's in the crowd, but Doc Sutton was probably actually in the gym that day. He probably started before and was probably still working out. But I got done with a really hard workout, and I went to wash my hands, and there was a special ops guy standing there. And I said, man, I'm done. And he said, you're never done. It's never over. And when you think about that, it's very true. So one of the things that you want to take away is your hard work is never over. So the sooner you recognize it, the better off you're going to be. Let's get back to the Wilson Way. What else is important about it? How about coachability? You know, for those of you that may have played sports, for those of you that may be in band or the theater, we all have coaches, we all have mentors, we all have role models. And what stuck with me and the whispers I still hear in my head are those of my parents and my coaches saying, you know, do this, do this. And if you think you're going to do it all on your own and you're going to do it your way, you'll learn, and you'll learn the hard way. So listen to your coaches. You've got a lot of really great teachers and a lot of really great mentors here. And I think when, again, one of the greatest takeaways you can have in life is that never say die attitude, and it's just a mentality here at Wilson that's different. I've never seen it, and I've traveled the world, I've done a lot of different things in my life, and that's the one thing that still strikes me, is this Wilson way that I keep coming back to. And it's transcended itself through generations. Mrs. Hoffman, Bob, I think you'll probably agree with me when you say that. There's nothing like a Wilson person. So the greatest thing, the greatest advantage you have, besides how smart you are, what greatest school you may go to, and whatever you may do in this world, you've got the Wilson way, which is probably the greatest advantage anybody could ever have. So when you walk into school tomorrow, go thank your teachers, go thank your principals, obviously thank your parents, and thank your friends. My greatest friends in the world are still the guys I played Little League sports with. So I wish you all the best. You will do great in the real world. God bless and good luck. I think there's one final speaker, and it's Principal Trickett. Come to the stage and close things up. Thanks, everyone.
Well, good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank a few people who made tonight possible. Ms. Rodenbush and Mrs. Taylor are our advisors for National Honor Society. Not only are they exceptional educators, but they are also great role models for the students that are sitting here today, as well as many of the other students and our staff, and I very much appreciate all the work that they put into this event. Also, I'd like to thank our Distinguished Alumni Committee, who works throughout the year to review different applications, to choose, ultimately, the people that you heard speak this evening. There are many of them. They're listed in our program, and I thank them for their dedication and service continued to the organization. Thank you so much, Distinguished Alumni Committee. Listening to the words of wisdom that were so eloquently spoken this evening by Brad, Aaron, Brent, Megan, Robert, Carol, and Paul, and reflecting on the students in the audience today, I'm sure that we all have solidified our understanding of the 4 pillars of the National Honor Society and the reason that you all are here today: scholarship, character, leadership, and community service. Scholarship is much more complex than working hard to earn top grades, as Brad passionately described. It's a commitment to excellence, the development of a mindset of growth, determination, and grit. People often overlook the importance of one's character, but in many ways it's far more valued than scholarship. Even though each of you have struggles, things that are challenging you at any given moment, it is evident that you have created the time to support and encourage others, often putting the needs of your peers ahead of your own. How you treat others is one of your distinctive qualities, and it will help shape the legacy you leave behind here at Wilson. Always be the kids at the lab table. The countless hours of community service and time you have dedicated to help families in and outside of the Wilson community serves as an example for your peers. By extending your hand to help those less fortunate, you have taught people, maybe even your parents, what your generation is capable of. Continue to shoulder the grievances of others, as Aaron encouraged you to do. I've intentionally saved leadership as the last value, as it carries the biggest responsibility for each of you. James Hunter, in his book, The Servant, describes leadership as the skill of influencing people to work enthusiastically towards goals identified as being for the common good. Again, leadership is a skill of influencing other people to work enthusiastically towards a common goal. One of the key words that he uses to describe leadership is skill. As you know, skills can be learned and developed, as each of you have done time and time again throughout high school. Breaking his definition down further, he contends that leadership is about influencing others. He chose influence as he fully understands that you get the best out of others when they choose to follow you. Leadership is hard. Take Megan's advice and be brave. I will close by challenging each of you to use the skills you have honed through your experiences, as well as the words and wisdoms spoken this evening, to gain as many followers as possible and to positively influence them every chance you can. I am proud of each of you and look forward to your continued success. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And Carol, we love you too.
Thank you for coming tonight. We invite you to stay for light refreshments. Please follow the newly inducted students as they proceed out.